All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to now get into previewing the big matchup in Detroit between the Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions. And this is going to be a great game. This will definitely be more high scoring than the Rams 49ers game. And also the other thing, too, is weather will not be a factor in this game. It is indoors. Now, Puka Nacua did not know that the Lions played in a dome last year when they were getting ready for their playoff game against the Lions. But yeah, this game will be indoors. They played each other on Thanksgiving a couple years ago, and that was a very entertaining game. That came down to the wire. But, things have changed since then. The Lions are the best team in the NFL. The Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL, but I don't think they are the best. You could point to the Lions. Now, the Lions are dealing with some injuries right now, but that really has not hindered them. They continue to still win games. They won last week against the Packers in a high-scoring game, and I think this game is going to be high-scoring as well. And Josh Allen just got into a game for the ages with the Rams, where he had 6 touchdowns in total. So I don't know if he's going to do that in this game, but I do expect him to play well, and I expect Jared Goff to play well too. Now, last week the Lions, there were some criticisms with them because of how they handled some situations where they were maybe a little too aggressive. I mean, most of the fourth down plays that they ended up going for it on, they ended up converting, but there was the one that they didn't get where they were way back in their own, well, not way back, but they were at their own 30. They end up going for it, and they don't get it. And that's something that I think they need to pull back a little bit on. Just a little bit. Because you can't have this happening in the playoffs. Because if it happens in the playoffs, they are going to get heavily criticized. Dan Campbell is going to get heavily criticized for it. He dealt with some heat last year in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers. You don't want to have to deal with that again. Now, it could very well happen in this game. Now, the Lions have put themselves in a great position where odds are they could end up with the number 1 seed, and they got home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But the Vikings are right behind them. The Vikings have a chance to catch up to them and take back the lead in the NFC North, because they did have it for a little bit at the beginning of the year. But then the Lions beat them, and then, they kind of took over. So you can't afford to lose games down the stretch when you got the Vikings right behind you. Now, they do play each other one more time, so the NFC North could come down to that last game. And that could be, the game that NBC flexes into on Sunday night. But we'll see. So, yeah, I listen, I love the aggressiveness, but you don't want it to really kill you in a game. And this is definitely a game where I see the Lions going for it on fourth down on more than one occasion. I mean, if it's less than, 4th and 5, they're going to go for it. Odds are they're going to go for it. And it's going to be that kind of game where I really do think there's going to be a lot of scoring. Field goals are not going to win you this game. Now, what hurt the Bills last week, I think, is also just the fake punt. Or not the fake punt, the block punt. I apologize. The block punt really, swung it in the Rams' favor, and the Bills really had to play catch-up. I don't think that's going to happen in this game. I think we're going to get a lot of back and forth. Like I said, the Lions' defense is banged up, although it did play well against the Packers last week, and then the Packers got it going in the second half. I think from the jump, the Bills' offense is going to, they're going to be rolling. And one thing that I did see briefly on social media before, while we were in break, is just Marcus Spears talking about the importance of the Bills establishing the run in this game. Because I don't believe, there were a lot of points scored by the Bills on Sunday. James Cook only had 20 yards rushing in that game. Josh Allen was the leading rusher. He had 82 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Now, they were all, quarterback sneaks, quarterback draws. But James Cook needs to be more of a factor. I do agree with that. Establish the run. Because you could kind of slow the game down a little bit. The Lions, they control the clock with their offense and their running game with the 2 running backs that they have. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Sonic and Knuckles. They've been awesome this year. We've seen the last 2 weeks the Lions put together these long clock-killing drives. The Bills could do the same thing because they got a running back of their own that's very talented and has had a good year. Make him a part of the game plan. Now, I'm not saying you just give it to James Cook and you don't throw it, but, keep him involved. And you know what? He also can do damage as a receiver too. So I think, it is important to kind of get him involved. And also, they haven't had Dalton Kincaid these last couple weeks. I believe he's making his return here, so that's huge. Another weapon for Josh Allen in that offense. I'm not sure about Keon Coleman because I'm pretty sure he hasn't been playing recently. But, that, again, getting him back too, that helps to go along with Amari Cooper and Khalil Shakir. Both of those guys had good games last week. Shakir had that long touchdown reception. Keon Coleman is expected to play. He's dealing with the wrist injury, so he's expected back. So you get him and Dalton Kincaid back. That's huge. That's huge for this offense. So, like I keep saying, expect there to be a lot of points to be scored here on Sunday. But to kind of go through the comparisons between the two teams, Lions are top 5 in passing yards per game. The Bills are 17th. The Bills are 11th in rushing yards per game. The Lions are 4th. And then points per game, both teams are top 3. Lions are 1st. Bills are 2nd. Then defensively, Bills' defense actually has done a nice job against the pass. They're 9th. Not last week. But they're 9th. Lions' defense is 24th. And then against the run, the Lions are good at stopping the run. So, we talk about James Cook being more involved, but, maybe it might be an issue in this game because the Lions are good at stopping the run, but they're also banged up. So, I think the Lions, the Bills will find success in running the football. And the Bills are 19th. The Lions are going to run it. They're going to run it a bunch of times. They're going to do play actions a lot. They could beat you so many different ways offensively. And then points allowed, both teams are top 10. Lions defense is 2nd, and the Bills defense is 8th. So, and I think the Bills defense is going to play a little bit better. I don't think we're going to see 44-42. If we do, that would be great. I'd love to see more offense. I'd rather see that than what we saw last night. But we're not going to see what we saw last night in this game. We're not. Mainly because, again, they play indoors. So, it's going to be interesting. And can the Bills' defense bounce back after, a rough game against the Rams? It doesn't get easier. You're playing against now arguably the best team in football. So, they're going to have their hands full. And the Lions' defense is going to have their hands full because they're going to be going up against arguably the best player in the NFL this year, and that is Josh Allen, who is on his way to winning his first NFL MVP. I think last week he really put himself ahead of the rest of the pack with how he performed despite the loss. I do think that the MVP is his to lose right now. So both defenses are going to have their hands full, and the Bills are getting healthier. Now, who do I think is going to win this game? It is very tough. It's very tough to decide. I've picked against the Lions in my spread pool these past couple of weeks. I did pick them to lose last week. I was close, but close doesn't matter. Lions still ended up picking up the win. The Bills are coming off of a loss. I actually will go with the Bills in this game. I'm going to take the Bills. I'm going to say this is the week that the Lions do lose. The Lions are the favorites in this game, so the Bills are going to be getting the points. I think it's like 1.5. It's not that much. So essentially it's a pick 'em. I don't feel great about it. Actually, the line went up to 2.5. But I will take the Bills in this game. Josh Allen is playing really well right now. I think the defense is going to step up and play better than it did last week. They got run all over by the Rams offense. I think they step up and they play a little bit better. Maybe they force Jared Goff into a turnover. The Packers did force an interception last week. So, we could see that. But I expect this to be a very high-scoring game. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a 34-31 game, 35-31, which is, it's close to 44-42. But maybe we'll at least see it get into the 30s for both teams. That's what we saw last week with the Packers and the Lions. So I think that's what we're going to get a high-scoring game between both teams. But I'm going to pick Josh Allen and the Bills to bounce back, get the win here, and hand the Lions their second loss of the season. I don't feel great about it. The Lions, they just find ways to win games. So they're 12-1 for a reason. But this is a big game for the Bills. This is a big game for them, and let's see if they're up for the challenge against the Lions here. But let me know what you guys think about this game. Who do you have winning? Let me know in the comments. So before we go to break, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So, when we come back from our next break, we will talk about another big game in Pennsylvania, and that is between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles. We will get into previewing that matchup when we return. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.